on old and new tablets. Here I sit and wait, surrounded by broken old tablets and new tablets half covered with writing. When will my hour come? The hour of my going down and going under? For I want to go among men once more. For that I am waiting now. For first the signs must come to me that my hour has come. The laughing lion with the flock of doves. Meanwhile, I talk to myself as one who has time. Nobody tells me anything new, so I tell myself. When I came to men, I found them sitting on an old conceit. The conceit that they have long known what is good and evil for man. All talk of virtue seemed old and weary to man. And whoever wanted to sleep well still talked of good and evil before going to sleep. I disturbed this sleepiness when I taught. What is good and evil no one knows yet, unless it be he who creates. He, however, creates man's goal and gives the earth its meaning and its future. That anything at all is good and evil, that is his creation. And I bade them overthrow their old academic chairs. And wherever that old conceit had sat, I bade them laugh at their great masters of virtue, and saints and poets and world redeemers. I bade them laugh at their gloomy sages, and at whoever had at any time sat on the tree of life like a black scarecrow. I sat down by their great tomb, rode among cadavers and vultures, and I laughed at all their past and its rotting, decaying glory. Verily, like the preachers of repentance and fools, I raised a hue and a cry of wrath over what among them is great and small, and that their best is still so small, and that their greatest evil, too, is still so small. At that I laughed. My wise longing cried and laughed thus out of me. Born in the mountains, verily, a wild wisdom, my great broad-winged longing. And often it swept me away and up and far in the middle of my laughter, and I flew, quivering, an arrow, through sun-drunken delight, away into distant futures, which no dream had yet seen, into hotter souths than artists ever dreamed of, where gods in their dances are ashamed of all clothes, to speak in parables and to limp and stammer like poets. And verily, I am ashamed that I must still be a poet. Where all becoming seemed to me the dance of gods, and the prankishness of gods, and the world seemed free and frolicsome, and as if fleeing back into itself, as an eternal fleeing, and seeking each other again of many gods, as the happy controverting of each other, conversing again with each other, and converging again of the many gods, where all time seemed to me a happy mockery of moments, where necessity was freedom itself playing happily with the sting of freedom, where I also found again my old devil and arch-enemy, the spirit of gravity, and all that he created, constraint, statute, necessity and consequence and purpose and will and good and evil. For must there not be over which one dances and dances away? For the sake of the light and the lightest, must there not be moles and grave dwarfs? There it was, too, that I picked up the word overman, by the way, and that man is something that must be overcome. That man is a bridge and no end, proclaiming himself blessed in view of his noon and evening as the way to new dawns. Zarathustra's word of the great noon, and whatever else I hung up over man like the last crimson light of evening. Verily, I also let them see new stars along with new nights, and over clouds and day and night I still spread out laughter as a colorful tent. I taught them all my creating and striving to create and carry together into one what in man is fragment and riddle and dreadful accident, as creator, guesser of riddles and redeemer of accidents. I taught them to work on the future and to redeem with their creation all that has been, to redeem what is past in man, and to recreate all it was, until the will says, "Thus I willed it, thus I shall will it." This I call redemption, and this alone I taught them to call redemption. Now I wait for my own redemption, that I may go to them for the last time, for I want to go to men once more. Under their eyes I want to go under. Dying, I want to give them my richest gift. From the sun I learned this. When he goes down, over rich, he pours gold into the sea out of inexhaustible riches, so that even the poorest fisherman still rows with golden oars. For this I once saw, and I did not tire of my tears as I watched it. Like the sun, Zathustra II wants to go under. Now he sits here and waits, surrounded by broken old tablets and new tablets half covered with writing. Behold, here is a new tablet. But where are my brothers to carry it down with me to the valley and into the hearts of flesh? Thus my great love of the farthest demands it. Do not spare your neighbor. Man is something that must be overcome. There are many ways of overcoming. See to that yourself. But only a jester thinks man can also be skipped over. Overcome yourself even in your neighbor. And a right that you can rob you should not accept as a gift. What you do, nobody can do to you in turn. Behold, there is no retribution. He who cannot command himself should obey. and many can command themselves. But much is still lacking before they also obey themselves. This is the manner of noble souls. They do not want to have for nothing, least of all, life. Whoever is of the mob wants to live for nothing. We others, however, to whom life gave itself, we always think about what we might best give in return. And verily, that is a noble speech which says, what life promises us, we ourselves want to keep in life. One shall not wish to enjoy where one does not give joy, and one shall not wish to enjoy, for enjoyment and innocence are the most bashful things. Both do not want to be sought. One shall possess them, but rather seek even guilt and suffering. My brothers, the firstling is always sacrificed. We, however, are firstlings. All of us bleed at secret sacrificial altars. All of us burn and roast in honor of old idols. What is best in us is still young. That attracts old palates. Our flesh is tender, our hide a mere lambskin. How could we fail to attract old idol priests? Even in ourselves, the old idol priest still lives, who roasts what is best in us for his feast. Alas, my brothers, how could firstlings fail to be sacrifices? But thus our kind wants it. And I love those who do not want to preserve themselves. Those who are going under, I love you with my whole love, for they cross over. To be true, only a few are able, and those who are still lack the will, but the good have this ability, least of all. Oh, these good men never speak the truth, for the spirit, to be good in this way is a disease. They give in, these good men, they give themselves up. Their heart repeats and their ground obeys, but whoever heeds commands does not heed himself. Everything that the good call evil must come together so that one truth may be born. Oh, my brothers, are you evil enough for this truth? The audacious daring, the long mistrust, the cruel no, the disgust, the cutting into the living. How rarely does all this come together, but from such seed is truth begotten. Alongside the bad conscience, all science has grown so far. Break, you lovers of knowledge, the old tablets. When the water is spanned by planks, when bridges and railings leap up over the river, verily, those are not believed who say everything is in flux. Even the blockheads contradict them. How now? Say the blockheads. Everything should be in flux. After all, planks and railings are over the river. Whatever is over the river is firm. All the values of things, the bridges, the concepts, all good and evil, that is firm. But when the hard winter comes, the river animal tamer, then even the most quick-witted learn mistrust. And verily, not only the blockheads then say, does not everything stand still? At bottom, everything stands still. That is truly a winter doctrine, a good thing for sterile times, a fine comfort for hibernators and earth squatters. At bottom, everything stands still. Against this thawing wind preaches. The thawing wind. A bull that is no plowing bull. A raging bull. A destroyer who breaks the ice with wrathful horns. Ice, however, breaks bridges. Oh, my brothers, is not everything in flux now? Have not all railings and bridges fallen into the water? Who could still cling to good and evil? Woe to us! Hail to us! The thawing wind still blows. Thus preach in every street, my brothers. There is an old illusion which is called good and evil. So far, the wheel of this illusion has revolved around soothsayers and stargazers. Once man believed in soothsayers and stargazers, and therefore believed all is destiny. You ought to, for you must. Then man again mistrusted all soothsayers and stargazers, and therefore believed all is freedom. You can, for you will. Oh, my brothers, so far there have been only illusions about stars and the future, not knowledge, and therefore there have been only illusions so far, not knowledge about good and evil. Thou shalt not rob. Thou shalt not kill. Such words were once called holy. One bent the knee and head and took off one's shoes before them. But I ask you, where have there ever been better robbers and killers in this world than such holy words? Is there not in all life itself robbing and killing? And that such words were called holy, was not truth itself killed thereby? Or was it the preaching of death that was called holy, which contradicted and contravened all life? Oh, my brothers, break the old tablets. This is my pity for all that is past. I see how all of it is abandoned to the pleasures, the spirit, the madness of every generation, which comes along and reinterprets all that has been as a bridge to itself. A great despot might come along, a shrewd monster, who, according to his pleasure and displeasure, might constrain and strain all that is past, till it becomes a bridge to him, a harbinger and a herald and a cock-crow. This, however, is the other danger, and what prompts my further pity. Whoever is of the rabble thinks back as far as the grandfather. With the grandfather, however, time ends. Thus all that is past is abandoned. For one day the rabble might become master and drown all time in shallow waters. Therefore, my brothers, a new nobility is needed to be the adversary of all rabble and all that is despotic, and to write anew upon new tablets the word noble. For many who are noble are indeed, and noble men of many kinds, that there may be a nobility. Or as I once said in a parable, precisely this is godlike, that there are gods, but no God. Oh, my brothers, I dedicate and direct to you a new nobility. You shall become procreators and cultivators and sowers of the future. Verily, not to a nobility that you might buy like shopkeepers, and with shopkeepers' gold, for whatever has its price has little value. Not whence you come shall henceforth constitute your honor, but whither you are going. Your will and your foot, which has a will to go over and beyond yourselves, that shall constitute your new honor. Verily, not that you have served a prince. What do princes matter now? Or that you became a bulwark for what stands, that it might stand more firmly? Not that your tribe has become courtly at court, and that you have learned, like a flamingo, to stand for long hours in a colorful costume in shallow ponds. For the ability to stand is meritorious among courtiers, and all courtiers believe that blessedness after death must comprise permission to sit. Nor that a spirit which they call holy led your ancestors into promised lands, which I do not praise. For where the worst of all trees grew, the cross, that land deserves no praise. And verily, wherever this Holy Spirit led his knights on all such crusades, goose-aids, goat in leading the way, and the contrary and crude sailed foremost. Oh, my brothers, your nobility should not look backward, but ahead. Exiles shall you be from all father and forefather lands. Your children's land shall you love. This love shall be your new nobility, the undiscovered land in the most distant sea. For that I bid your sails search and search. In your children you shall make up for being the children of your fathers. Thus shall you redeem all that is past. This new tablet I place over you. Why live? All is vanity. Living, that is the threshing straw. Living, that is consuming oneself in flames without becoming warm. Such antiquarian babbling is still considered wisdom. It is honored all the more for being old and mustiness too ennobles. Children might speak thus. They fear the fire because it burned them. There is much childishness in old books of wisdom. And why should those who always thresh straw be allowed to blaspheme threshing? Such oxen should be muzzled after all. Such men sit down to the table and bring nothing along. All is vanity. But eating and drinking well, O my brothers, is verily no vain art. Break the old tablets of the never gay. To clean all is to clean, the people say. But I say unto you, to the mean, all becomes mean. Therefore the swooners and the head hangers, whose hearts also hang limply, preach, the world itself is a filthy monster, for all these have an unclean spirit, but especially those who have neither rest nor repose, except when they see the world from abaft, the after-worldly. To these I say to their faces, even though it may not sound nice, the world is like man in having a backside aft. That much is true. There is much filth in the world. That much is true. But that does not make the world itself a filthy monster. Therefore there is wisdom in this, that there is much in the world that smells foul. Nausea itself creates wings and water divining powers. Even in the best there is still something that nauseates, and even the best is something that must be overcome. Oh, my brothers, there is much wisdom in this, that there is much filth in the world. Such maxims I heard pious, after-worldly people speak to their conscience. Verily, without treachery or falseness, although there is nothing falser in the whole world, nothing more treacherous. Let the world go its way. Do not raise one finger against it. Let him who wants to strangle and stab and fleece and flay the people. Do not raise one finger against it. Thus will they learn to renounce the world. And your own reason, you yourself should stifle and strangle it, for it is a reason of this world. Thus will you yourself learn to renounce the world. Break, O my brothers, these old tablets of the pious. Break the maxims of those who slander the world. Whoever learns much will unlearn all violent desire. That is whispered today in all the dark lanes. Wisdom makes weary. Worthwhile is nothing thou shalt not desire. This new tablet I found hanging even in the open marketplaces. Break, O my brothers, break this new tablet too. The world weary hung it up, and the preachers of death, and also the jailers. For behold, it is also an exhortation, an exhortation to bondage, because they learned badly, and the best things not at all, and everything too early, and everything too hastily, because they ate badly. Therefore they get upset stomachs, for their spirit is an upset stomach, which counsels death? For, verily, my brothers, the spirit is a stomach. Life is a well of joy, but for those out of whom an upset stomach speaks, which is the father of melancholy, all wells are poisoned. To gain knowledge is a joy for the lion-willed. But those who have become weary are themselves merely being willed, and all the billows play to them. And this is always the manner of the weak. They get lost on the way. And in the end, their weariness still asks, why did we ever pursue any way at all? It is all the same. Their ears appreciate the preaching. Nothing is worthwhile. You shall not will. Yet this is an exhortation to bondage. Oh, my brothers, like a fresh roaring wind, Zathustra comes to all who are weary of the way. Many noses he will yet make sneeze. Through walls, too, my free breath blows, and into prisons and imprisoned spirits. To will liberates, for to will is to create. Thus I teach, and you shall learn solely in order to create. And you shall first learn from me how to learn well. He that has ears to hear, let him hear. There stands the bark. Over there, perhaps the great nothing lies. But who would embark on this perhaps? No one of you wants to embark on the bark of death. Why then do you want to be world-weary? World-weary? And you are not even removed from the earth. Lusting after the earth, I have always found you. In love, even with your own earth weariness. Not for nothing is your lip hanging. A little earthly wish still sits on it. And in your eyes, does not a little cloud of unforgotten earthly joy float there? There are many good inventions on earth, some useful, some pleasing. For their sake, the earth is to be loved. And there is such a variety of well-invented things that the earth is like the breasts of a woman. Useful as well as pleasing. There are. But you who are world weary, you who are earth lazy, you should be lashed with switches. With lashes, one should make your legs sprightly again. For when you are not invalids and decrepit wretches of whom the earth is weary, you are shrewd sloths or sweet-toothed sneaky pleasure cats. And if you do not want to run again with pleasure, then you should pass away. To the incurable, one should not try to be a physician. Thus Zathustra teaches, so you shall pass away. But it takes more courage to make an end than to make a new verse. All physicians and poets know that. Oh, my brothers, there are tablets created by weariness, and tablets created by rotting sloths. But though they speak alike, they must be understood differently. Behold this man languishing here. He is but one span from his goal, but out of weariness he has defiantly laid down in the dust, this courageous man. Out of weariness he yawns at the way and the earth and the goal and himself. Not one step further will he go, this courageous man. Now the sun glows on him, and the dogs lick his sweat. But he lies there in his defiance, and would sooner die of thirst. Die of thirst one span away from his goal. Verily, you will have to drag him by the hair into his heaven, this hero. Better yet, let him lie where he lay down, and let him sleep. The Comforter, come to him with cooling, rushing rain. Let him lie till he awakes by himself, till he renounces by himself all weariness and whatever weariness taught through him. Only, my brothers, drive the dogs away from him, the lazy creepers, and all the ravenous vermin, all the raving vermin of the educated who feast on every hero's sweat. I draw circles around me in sacred boundaries. Fewer and fewer men climb with me on ever higher mountains. I am building a mountain range out of every more sacred mountains. But wherever you may climb with me, O my brothers, see to it that no parasite climbs with you. Parasites, creeping, cringing worms who would batten on your secret stores. And this is their art, that they find where climbing souls are weary, in your grief and discouragement, in your tender parts. They build their nauseating nests, where the strong are weak and the noble all too soft. There they build their nauseating nests. The parasites live where the great have little secret sores. What is the highest species of all living being, and what is the lowest? The parasite is the lowest species, but whoever is of the highest species will nourish the most parasites. For the soul that has the longest ladder and reaches down the deepest, how should the most parasites not sit on that? The most comprehensive soul, which can run and stray and roam farthest within itself. The most necessary soul, which out of sheer joy plunges itself into chance. The soul which, having been, dives into becoming. The soul which has, but wants to want and will. The soul which flees itself and catches up with itself in the widest circle. The wisest soul, which folly exhorts most sweetly. The soul which loves itself the most, in which all things have their sweep and counter-sweep and ebb and flow. Oh, how should the highest soul not have the most parasites? The worst parasites. Oh, my brothers, am I cruel? But I say, what is falling? We should still push. Everything today falls and decays, and who would check it? But I even want to push it. Do you know the voluptuous delight which rolls stones into deep depths? These human beings of today, look at them. how they roll into my depth. I am a prelude of better players, O my brothers, a precedent. Follow my precedent. And he whom you cannot teach to fly, teach to fall faster. I love the valiant, but it is not enough to wield a broadsword. One must also know against whom. And often there is more valor when one refrains and passes by in order to save oneself for a worthier enemy. You shall only have enemies who are to be hated, but not enemies to be despised. You must be proud of your enemies. Thus I taught once before, for the worthier the enemy, O my friends, you shall save yourselves. Therefore you must pass by much, especially much rabble, who raise a din in your ears about the people and about peoples. Keep your eyes undefiled by their pro and con. There is much justice, much injustice, and whoever looks on becomes angry. Citing and smiting here become one. Therefore go away into the woods and lay your sword to sleep. Go your own ways and let the people and peoples go theirs. Dark ways, verily, on which not a single hope flashes anymore. Let the shopkeeper rule, where all that still glitters is shopkeeper's gold. The time of kings is past. What calls itself a people today deserves no kings. Look how these peoples are now like shopkeepers. They pick up the smallest advantages from any rubbish. They lie around lurking and spy around smirking and call that being good neighbors. Oh, blessed remote time when a people would say to itself, I want to be master over peoples. For, my brothers, the best should rule. The best also want to rule. And where the doctrine is different, there the best is lacking. If those got free bread, alas, for what would they clamor? Their sustenance. That is what sustains their attention, and it should be hard for them. They are beasts of prey. In their work, there is still an element of preying. In their earning, still an element of overreaching. Therefore, it should be hard for them. Thus they should become better beasts of prey, subtler, more prudent, more human, for man is the best beast of prey. Man has already robbed all the beasts of their virtues. For of all beasts, man has had the hardest time. Only the birds are still over and above him. And if man were to learn to fly, woe, to what heights would his rapaciousness fly? Thus I want man and woman, the one fit for war, the other fit to give birth, but both fit to dance with head and limbs. And we should consider every day lost, on which we have not danced at least once. And we should call every truth false, which was not accompanied by at least one laugh. Your wedlock see to it that it not be a bad lock. If you lock it too quickly, there follows wedlock breaking, adultery. And better even such wedlock breaking than wedlock picking, wedlock tricking. Thus said a woman to me, indeed I committed adultery and broke my wedlock, but first my wedlock broke me. The worst among the vengeful I always found to be the ill-matched. They would make the world pay for it that they could no longer live singly. Therefore, I would have those who are honest say to each other, we love each other. Let us see to it we remain in love, or shall our promise be a mistake? Give us a probation and a little marriage, so that we may see whether we are fit for a big marriage. It is a big thing always to be two. Thus I counsel all who are honest. And what would my love for the overman and for all who shall yet come amount to if I counseled and spoke differently? Not merely to reproduce, but to produce something higher. Toward that, my brothers, the garden of marriage shall help you. Whoever has gained wisdom concerning ancient origins will eventually look for wells of the future and for new origins. Oh, my brothers, it will not be over long before new peoples originate and new wells roar down into new depths. For earthquakes bury many wells and leave many languishing, but they also bring to light inner powers and secrets. Earthquakes reveal new wells, and earthquakes that strike ancient peoples, new wells break open. And whoever shouts, behold, a well for many who are thirsty, a heart for many who are longing, a will for many instruments. Around that man there will gather a people, that is, many triers, who can command must obey. That is tried out there. Alas, with what long trials and surmises, unpleasant surprises and learning and retrials. Human society is a trial. Thus I teach it, a long trial. And what it tries to find is the commander. A trial, O my brothers, and not a contract. Break this word of the soft-hearted and half. O my brothers, who represents the greatest danger for all man's future? Is it not the good and the just? Insomuch as they say and feel in their hearts, we already know what is good and just. We have it here. 2. Woe unto those who still seek here. And whatever harm the evil may do, the harm done by the good is the most harmful harm. And whatever harm those do who slander the world, the harm done by the good is the most harmful harm. Oh, my brothers, one man once saw into the hearts of the good and just and said, they are the Pharisees, but he was not understood. The good and the just themselves were not permitted to understand him. Their spirit is imprisoned in their good conscience. The stupidity of the good is unfathomably shrewd. This, however, is the truth. The good must be Pharisees. They have no choice. The good must crucify him who invents his own virtue. That is the truth. The second one, however, who discovered their land, the land, heart, and soul of the good and the just, was he who asked, whom do they hate the most? The Creator they hate the most. He breaks tablets and old values. He is a breaker. They call him law breaker. For the good are unable to create. They are always the beginning of the end. They crucify him who writes new values on new tablets. They sacrifice the future to themselves. They crucify all man's future. The good have always been the beginning of the end. Oh, my brothers, have you really understood this word? And what I once said concerning the last man, who represents the greatest danger for all of man's future? Is it not the good and the just? Break the good and the just. Oh, my brothers, have you really understood this word? You flee from me. You are frightened. You tremble at this word. Oh, my brothers, when I bade you break the good and the tablets of the good, only then did I embark man on his high sea. And only now does there come to him the great fright, the great looking around, the great sickness, the great nausea, the great seasickness, false coasts and false assurances the good have taught you. In the lies of the good you were hatched and huddled. Everything has been made fraudulent and has been twisted through and through by the good. But he who discovers the land, man, also discovered the land, man's future. And now you shall be seafarers, valiant and patient. Walk upright betimes, O my brothers. Learn to walk upright. The sea is raging. Many want to right themselves again with your help. The sea is raging. Everything is in the sea. Well then, old sea dogs, what of fatherland? Our helm steers us toward our children's land. Out there, stormier than the sea, storms our great longing. Why so hard? The kitchen coal once said to the diamond. After all, are we not close kin? Why so soft, my brothers? Thus I ask you, are you not after all my brothers? Why so soft, so pliant and yielding? Why is there so much denial, self-denial in your hearts? So little destiny in your eyes? And if you do not want to be destinies and inexorable ones, how can you triumph with me? And if your hardness does not wish to flash and cut through, how can you one day create with me? For creators are hard, and it must seem blessedness to you to impress your hand on millennia as on wax. Blessedness to write on the will of millennia as on bronze, harder than bronze, nobler than bronze. Only the noblest is altogether hard. This new tablet, O my brothers, I place over you. Become hard. O thou, my will, thou cessation of all need, my own necessity, keep me from all small victories, thou destination of my soul, which I call destiny. Thou in me, over me, keep me and save me for a great destiny. And thy last greatness, my will, save up for thy last feat, that thou mayest be inexorable in thy victory. Alas, who was not vanquished in his victory? Alas, whose eye would not darken in this drunken twilight? Alas, whose foot would not reel in victory and forget how to stand? That I may one day be ready and ripe in the great noon, as ready and ripe as glowing bronze, clouds pregnant with lightning and swelling milk udders, ready for myself and my most hidden will, a bow lusting for its arrow, an arrow lusting for its star, a star ready and ripe in its noon, glowing, pierced, enraptured by annihilating sun arrows, a sun itself, and an inexorable solar will, ready to annihilate in victory. O will, cessation of all need, my own necessity, save me for a great victory. Thus spoke Zarathustra.